Welcome back to the Game Changers podcast, everyone. This is Coach Jay, and I'm so pumped to have you guys on this episode today. You guys, if you know me, you know that I have such a special heart for point guards out there. I was one. So today I want to talk about 5 ways to become a successful point guard. Before we hop into this episode, I want to let you know that if you are watching this episode on YouTube, make sure to subscribe because I started a whole new YouTube channel strictly for this podcast. I still have my Coach Jay Taft YouTube channel, which you guys can get a bunch of content like skills training, practice planning, me working out, showing you guys workouts, day in my life as a basketball development coach, all those kinds of things. And if you guys are listening to that, you should head over to the YouTube app and to the YouTube and subscribe. That would mean so much to me as we're just trying to build this platform and bring resources to all of you game changers out there. And guys, I just want to point out, look at this little sign. It's GC Game Changers. My amazing roommate made it for me for my birthday, and I just had to display her. Honestly, it gets really bright, so that's not even like the brightest it could get. So, just wanted to shout out Miss Talia out there. But again, guys, with that being said, we are going to be talking about 5 ways to become a successful point guard. Now, even if you're not a point guard, if you're just a 2 or 3, these tips still can apply to you on how just to be a successful game or playmaker out there. So, don't just think because you don't play the one spot, this can't help you. It definitely will. With that being said, we're going to go to tip number 1, and that is to be the coach on the floor. This is really important, and this is something that I got drilled in my head when I was playing, was to be an extension of the coach. Now, that doesn't mean to take over the coach's job, but your coach should trust you to be able to lead the team on the floor. Just think about, we'll bring football in for a second. Just think about a quarterback, right? They are the extension of the coach on the floor. They're the ones that are making the plays. They're the ones that are putting the ball in the hands of the receivers or the running back to successfully get to the end zone. As a point guard, you want to make sure that you can run your team successfully. An example of this is, say it is the first half and you got, sorry, oh my gosh, I just coughed in the mic. I'm so sorry. But say it was the first half of the game and you guys are playing offense on the opposite side of your bench. Sometimes the games are loud. Sometimes you might not be able to hear what your coach is saying. You have to be able to take ownership. Example number 2 is, say your team is either not running a play right or just kind of looking sloppy or messy, or people are not in the right position. As a point guard, it is your job to go get the ball, bring it back up to the top, keep your dribble, and direct your team on where to go. Or that's receiving a pass, tucking the ball, and allowing your team to settle down. There are multiple times where I would do this, and I would actually just like wave my hand and just kind of calm down, like a calm down motion. And this just signaled to my team, hey, we're good, take a breath, I got you. Same thing with like out of bounds plays. A lot of times I've noticed that point guards will take the ball out of bounds on a lot of teams, and sometimes that's up to you to call the play. I know as a coach now, I don't want to call a play or a motion all the time. I want my players to have some sense of freedom. So as the point guard, be an extension of your coach. Another aspect of being an extension of your coach is being a leader, right? What does your coach expect from every player when he or she enters the floor or steps onto the floor, both on how to act and execution. So you are that reflection of your coach, okay? If your coach expects diving on the floor, high energy, or hard on-ball defense, you need to be that player that sets that example on the floor. So that is an example. There are plenty more, but those are some examples of how being a coach on the floor is extremely important. Number two, I would say that knowing what every position on the floor does, whether that is a play or, again, if you guys have a motion offense, what does every position do? One, that leads into that you can lead your team and make those reads. So say you have like a 4 or 5 and they're supposed to flash high post, back to short corner, they're in and out of the lane, and say they're not really finding those gaps. You know that that is their motion, so it's up to you. Okay, so here, let me reframe that. You know that it is the 4's job to go from short corner to high post, but they're not finding the gaps. Well, you know that that is their motion. So for some reason, they're not finding the gaps or they're not moving or whatever. It is your job to go up to them and say, hey, I need you to move or flash harder or find this gap. Maybe it's not right on the elbow. Maybe it's a little bit on like that little first hash. I don't know. I'm just making up examples here. But to know what everyone does. That way you can direct. Another reason why it's important to know how your team moves on every position is so that you can make reads, okay? The defense helps here. You know that your post is making an eye cut, or they're dropping to the block, or they're dropping short corner, or you know that if there's a screen happening on the opposite side, there's a flare cut. You know, all those kinds of things. So being able to know every position on the floor not only helps you direct your team, but also helps you make reads. And of course, we know that is extremely important at the point guard position. Number 3 is probably one of the most important ones for you to know, and that is to be controlled and to be poised. My PGs out there, please take this to heart. When you can be controlled and poised as a point guard, that is extremely valuable. A coach wants that. Trust me, the hardest teams it was for me to coach or to set up in some type of offensive flow is when I did not have a controlled point guard. It was really tough. When I had a point guard that knew how to change paces, control, not force, be able to break a press because they didn't just put their head down and dribble straight through it, I had a lot less stress coaching because I knew that my point guard could handle it, take care of it, and get our team set up for success. So being controlled and poised is extremely important. Now, one of the biggest things that I will teach to any player that is bringing up the floor, or again, a true point guard, is that you set your pace. Never let the defense speed you up or slow you down. You're the one with the ball in your hand. You're the one that controls the tempo. Okay, that is why it actually leads me into my tip number 4, and we're going to talk about both of these, is that you have to be so confident in your ball handling. As a point guard, majority of the time, you're the one who has the ball in your hand the most. You're the one bringing the ball up the floor. You're the one setting up the plays. You're the one directing your team. You have to have confidence in your ball handling. If you are a point guard that does not have confidence and is not confident going up against a really, really tough defender, your team will not have as much of a successful offense as it's supposed to be. And you might be like, well, what if you had this really dominant scorer? Yeah, okay, that might help. But if you cannot get the ball to your dominant scorer, they're not even going to get a chance to score. Or being a point guard, you have the task on your back of being able to distribute that ball the right way to your team, knowing how they're moving. So if you have a scorer or a really good scorer on your team, but you know that they literally don't like it if there's even an ounce of a bad pass, you're the one that that has to get the ball to them in their shot pocket. So you have to read your teammates. You have to know. So being a true point guard, I'm not talking about someone who brings the ball up the floor just because the floor is open. I'm talking about a true point guard is not an easy task, okay? It's not. Personally, I loved it. I did not feel like I had to be the best scorer or the highest scorer on my team. I really liked being the highest assist person or whatever. So, or having the highest assist stats. So, again, be controlled and poised. Do not let the defense set your tempo. As a great point guard, you set the tempo. You do not let the defense set your tempo. If you want to go fast, you go fast. If you want to go slow, you go slow. Along with that is being a great ball handler, okay? Let's just dive into this really quick. Part of being a great ball handler means you put the reps in. I had confidence in my ball handling because I knew every single day I am dribbling the ball for 10 minutes without fail. That is what got me to being a point guard or a college point guard, okay? Because I dribbled and handled the ball. Again, I am 5'3". There was no way that I was going to play college basketball or even have an opportunity to play the level I did if I couldn't handle the ball. That is just facts. So if you want to be a true point guard, you have to be able to handle the ball under pressure. A big thing that college coaches or even a high school coach that you're playing for, they want to be able to trust whoever has the ball in their hand the most. So to be able to trust that, you have to be able to handle the ball well. You have to be able to not just turn your back to the basket or turn your back to the defender. You have to be squared up right to that defender and know that they're not taking the ball from you. So a few maybe drills to help you with this is actually point guards, I want to challenge you to this. Go find the best defender on your team, just that pest of a defender, and go ask them to guard you full court and just have them steal the ball from you over and over and over until you learn tempo and you learn retreat dribbles, keeping the ball or dribbling the ball strong, whatever that is for you. I challenge you right now to go do that because that will help you a lot handle those really hard pressing teams. So there is that for you. Tip number 5 is that you do not have to be the leading scorer, but you need to be able to hit a shot when your team needs one. I'm going to pull a few examples. First of all, end of the game, it's a tight game. You're at the free throw line all the time. You're at the free throw line, point guards, because you have the ball in your hand, okay? So you need to be able to be a knockdown free throw shooter, okay? I challenge you right now that after every practice, hit 10 in a row free throws. If that's a challenge for you, start with 3, then go to 5, then go to 10. This is something that I did after every practice. I don't know what it was about free throws. I could not stand missing. Like, I would be more mad missing a free throw than a jump shot. It was just, I couldn't stand it. So if you can hit a free throw at the end of the game, that is going to be extremely important. Again, because you have the ball in your hand at the end of the game most of the time. And also, too, it's free points. The clock is stopped. You get free points. Why not try to hit it? Challenge yourself to make 10 free throws in a row after every single practice and watch your percentage go up. Number 2, sometimes you need to be able to hit a shot to get your team going. You as a point guard, you naturally step into a leadership role. Now, some of us are more leaders vocally, some of us are more leaders by example. So one of the ways that you could be a leader by example is to maybe kind of be that spark for your team and you guys are down or the other team had some momentum and your team kind of feels a little bit down. Go down, make a hard dribble move, get into the lane, whether that's a quick jumper, a floater, or a really awesome creative move in the paint, just to get your team going and flowing again. That is really, really important. And then the third example of why you need to be able to hit a shot when your team needs it is, what if your scorer, your number one, point player, that made no sense, but oh my God, my words, I'm so sorry, guys. My words are so messed up today, but the player on your team that scores the most points will have a bad game, at least one during the season. Okay, we all have it. Sometimes you need to take the ownership role of being a scorer on your team if your best player or your best scorer is having a bad day. So those are just 3 examples for you guys why I think it's important that you don't need to be the best scorer on your team, but you need to be able to hit a shot when your team needs one. I know that there are plenty of more things that I could talk about, but those are 5 points that I wanted to really hit on when it comes to being a successful point guard. Let's be real. The point guard position is a very, very tough one, and I'm talking a true point guard position. It is hard. There is a lot of weight to it. There is a lot that comes with that role, but if this is a position that you find yourself in, or a position especially that you know that you'll have to play if you want to go to the next level, I really, really urge you to take these 5 points into consideration and work on those. So again, that might be just 10 minutes of ball handling a day on top of your workout. Even if you got to practice in, just stay an extra 10 minutes or wake up early and get 10 minutes of ball handling in. I would work on being a really great passer. You can do this against a wall. Pick a point on the wall. I actually have some really good passing videos on my TikTok that you guys can find. It's just at Coach J Taft, where I go through like passing routines that you can work on just to be really accurate at your passes. Some of them are not necessarily game passes, but good control, working on control and manipulating the basketball. Work on your passes. Work on being creative in the paint. Being able to score, hit a jump shot. Work on your 10 in a row free throws. These are really extremely important. Another thing that just came to my mind to kind of help you guys be really successful on being a coach on the floor is having constant communication with your head coach. This is extremely important because as a head coach, you have a philosophy. There is something that I want to accomplish with this team that I'm trying to do. If you go up to your head coach and you are talking to him or her about what their desires are for the team or their goals or the position that they want their team to be in, then you know how to operate on the floor. If you can be in sync with your head coach, honestly, there is a really big trust that happens there, and you'll actually start to see your head coach give you a longer leash because they can trust you with leading their team, okay? Because as much as it's obviously their team, the head coach's team, as the point guard, it's also your team as well. You kind of undertake this leadership role, and it's about finding what works best for you, whether that's being like a vocal leader or a leader by example. I urge you to actually find skills in both, but being an extension of the coach on the floor requires communication as well. So I figured I'd mention that one too because I actually didn't say that in point number 1. But with that being said, I personally loved being a point guard. I miss it. That's one thing I do miss is being a point guard on the floor. Yes, was it fun to hit threes? Was it fun to be like super creative in scoring or whatever? But there was something about just stepping on the floor and just knowing that I can lead this team and knowing that I had the confidence in my team and my coaches to step on the floor and also be an extension of the coach was really something awesome and exciting. So I just wanted to talk to you guys about it. I loved being a point guard. I hope you do too. It's, again, not an easy position, but it is a fun and rewarding one. But yeah, that's the podcast. If you guys have any questions, I actually would love to hear your tips below. What are some things that if you're a point guard or a former point guard, what have you been told that really has stuck with you? Comment it down below. I would love to hear that. If you would want a part 2 to this, let me know because I would love to chat more about point guards and how to help them out. Or if there's any questions with other positions, let me know. Again, guys, this is a podcast for you to just really, just get tips and tricks and learn from my mistakes and other people's mistakes when I bring them on the podcast and all that good stuff. So thank you guys for joining me. Thank you for sitting and chatting with me. This has been so fun. I'm really excited. We have some awesome guests coming up. So stay tuned. Make sure to like and review this podcast if you are listening on Apple Podcasts or Spotify. Make sure to subscribe and like this video if you are on YouTube. I also have a Coach J Taft channel I talked about earlier. Make sure to subscribe to that as well, guys, because there's some really exciting content and some really big changes coming up soon that I want you to be a part of so bad. So make sure to stay up to date with all of those things. With that being said, I will see you guys next time. Peace.